The access to Primrose Valley site is via Primrose village itself, as per the map. Ignore all signs for the holiday camp, there's no access through there at all. The take-off point is in the corner of the rough grass field, 50 yards from the car park. Both Primrose Valley and Reighton are flyable when it's too far off to the east for Filey or Bridlington, and it's a toss-up between them both, but as they're close together, only 10 minutes apart, you can try them both in a day. The take-off is prone to rotor and is hampered by the single bar fence just short of the cliff edge. There's room for just a couple of wings to be laid out in clean air, so if there's a few of you, it's a case of waiting your turn. You'll notice from this picture that if you turn right immediately on take-off, there's a series of gullies and bushes which kill the lift, so it's usual to turn left even if the turn is downwind. After a run of about 100 metres, you need to cross a shallow bowl, which appears to have some bushes in the bottom. These bushes are in fact trees, which are about 40 foot tall, affectionately known as mixed trees, after he christened them early in the year. So don't get too far back, otherwise you'll get caught in a bit of rotor at the back of them and get dumped. About 400 metres from takeoff, you'll meet a gully, which is a path back up from the beach, which you'll use inevitably in light winds. The cliffs at the Filey end of the beach work the best, but to have any chance of getting over the gully to reach them, you need to pass over the spur at the far side of the gully. If you pass in front of it, you'll just end up on the beach. This was just a few feet too low, and I never made it. This transition, just a few metres higher, made all the difference, and I made it up onto the cliffs. Although at times I was hanging my backside in the bushes a bit. The landings at Primrose can be pretty tricky, as the site is subject to rotor, much like Filey. The secret is to head up into wind and sneak in over the top, just side slipping in as near to the edge as you can. If you're in any doubt, land on the beach. So it's brakes off, full speed, and hoik yourself over the edge. Like Filey, the beach in front of Primrose Valley can work really well, especially when it's had some sun on it. So don't be frightened to push out away from the cliff edge. Conditions are really good, you can try flying in front of the bowl full of holiday cottages to the right of takeoff. However, this is very rare. This run is better attempted in the opposite direction, so we'll see the video on speed and fly, which is to follow soon. To have any attempt to get back onto the cliffs, you've got to carefully assess the point of no return. It's at this point that Mr. Dangerous sadly makes his appearance again. We last saw him flying too far back over Filey town, and here he is again, doing much the same. If the wind picks up, he'll be dumped right in the middle of the Avon holiday camp. which will not only lose us Primrose Valley as a site, but loses most of the bay from Filey to Speeton Cliffs, as the Avon Holiday Group own most of the cliff tops. If the wind drops, they'll be sat in somebody's back garden. Either way, it doesn't look very good for us. So, having said all we can about Primrose Valley, let's now head on up to Reighton, which has certain advantages, one of them being you can get up onto Speeton Cliffs. Reighton has 3 take-off points, the high take-off and the low take-off, which take an easterly or northeasterly, and the new high take-off, which you should use if there's a lot of north in it. To access the high take-off point, you drive right through the caravan site to the camping field. However, you cannot fly this site at bank holidays as it's full of tents, in which case you just use the other 2 sites. This is a good shot of the high take-off taken on a return leg from Speeton. This being a perfect day, there being no tents in the field. Use this take-off point if there's a lot of easterly in the wind. However, if it picks up strong, try the lower take-off point. This take-off point is really constrained, with bushes and brambles of all descriptions behind you, and the site is full of rubbish. I would only use it if you've really no other option. Your better choice is the new high take-off point. It's called new because it's only recently been used, though I don't know why. It's perfect. It takes anything what's north of east. It does, however, make for some interesting low flying. This is the approach to Primrose Valley from the Reighton end, by far a more interesting option. Just notice how low the cliffs are, and yet there's still plenty of lift. As you can see, at Reighton and Primrose Valley, it's not always about height. As with most of these coastal sites, the landing consists of finding the slow leg and drifting in over the top, and landing as close to the edge as you can. Here we are, coming in at the new top takeoff. Sometimes it just doesn't want to let you down. One of the great delights of flying at Reighton is getting from Reighton up onto Speeton Cliffs. It's a very difficult transition sometimes. We'll cover that in the main Speeton video, but in the meantime, let's see how to do a transit from the new high takeoff to the old high takeoff. Having made about 100-foot altitude, you turn right and head across the lower takeoff point. How far back in the bowl you go depends on the wind conditions, and it's very much a decision you have to make on the day. Having just about crossed the first bowl, you go at the back of an innocuous looking little landslip. Whatever you do, don't get low behind this. You'll get hammered to hell. You might enter the bowl between the high top takeoff pretty low, and it's always a bit touch and go. Sometimes you just don't make it. In which case, don't try and land in the bowl. It's full of all kinds of brambles and blackthorn, roses. Head down onto the beach and take the path back up to the top again. You need now to work the lift in the bowl, because you need a good 100 foot above takeoff to even think about venturing onto speeding cliffs. But that's for another time and place. In the meantime, here's a few pictures to whet your appetite. So, until next time, keep safe.